Hello and welcome to Quinology. Today I will be showing you how to take two squares of crochet and bring them together with a variety of methods. We will be going over 4 methods today with 2 main types, and we will get right into it. Alright, so for joining 2 pieces together, there are 2 main ways to do it. The first is sewing methods, so with a needle and the yarn usually pre-cut, although if you're not worried about breaking the line, you can also just use a working line and cut it off when you are done. The other method is crochet type joining stitches, which is where we use crochet stitches to do the joining, and I will be showing 2 different methods for each of these 2 different kinds. Alright, so starting with the sewing methods, I'm going to be joining these 2 pieces together along each edge. The important part for any join is to match up your edges and make sure they have the correct number of stitches so that you don't end up with any shifting or overlap or anything like that. The first step is to take a look at your corner and see where the chain stitches are around the corner. In this case there are 2. We're going to be going into the chain stitch along the edge that we'll be working with. So we'll go into this one right here, from the bottom to the top, like so. Get that out of there. And then take your line, bring it through just a little bit, and then find your other piece. Find the corresponding corner that goes to that, this one right here. And for this one, we're going to go top to bottom. Sorry. For this one right here, we're going to go top to bottom. Bring your yarn through. Now, for this stitch, which is called the mattress stitch, from here on you're just going to go back and forth. So you go on to the next stitch, put from the bottom to the top, on the other side, top to the bottom. We're only taking the top row and coming across like so. So bottom to top, top to bottom. I'm going to do the rest of this, and I'll see you at the end. Okay, so once you're done going across, you're going to want to clean it up a little bit by pulling the excess tension out, making sure everything is nice and tight. So you will notice right away the main advantage of the mattress stitch is that it is almost unnoticeable, almost invisible from the front. If you have a contrasting color such as this, you'll still be able to see it, but even if you're looking for it, it's not quite as noticeable as some of the other methods we'll be going over. Some of the drawbacks, though, are that once you tie this off, it has very little stretch. The fabric can move side to side along the stitch, but it does not stretch fully. So this type of stitch often ends up popping the seam because you'll notice it's just one piece of yarn weaving back and forth. I had a king size blanket that I had put together with a bunch of these squares, a little bit larger than this one, all put together with a single mattress stitch. And right in the middle of the blanket, one of these stitches popped, and I needed to go back through and redo an entire row to fix it. So from then on, I started doing what I call the double mattress stitch. So to do this, you start from the side that you finished and go into the corner and around to the back. And you're going to do the exact same thing you did on the front side, but now on the back. So you do that back and forth, all the way back across the seams. Another benefit of that, in addition to making your seam a lot stronger, is that when you are done with a row, you can simply tie the two ends together and weave it in between the seam. So that is method number 1. Alright, so method number 2. We're going to be taking the right sides of both of our squares and we're going to put them together like this. Again, we're going to find the corner and match it up. So this stitch here and this stitch here. For this one, we're going to take our needle and instead of just going through one side, we're going to go through both of the layers of stitch right here on both of the sides, like this. Pull your yarn through same way as the mattress stitch and start going back and forth across the piece. Oh, I messed up already. The benefit of this is that you can really just sandwich these pieces together and just go back and forth. So I will show you and see you at the end. Alright, so we have now finished the zigzag stitch. It's important to pull it just a little bit so that you get the right length, and then you can unfold it and reveal the seam. So with this, it's important to have the two sides face together when you do it because it does leave quite a bit of a ridge. However, from the back side, weirdly enough, the thread is hardly visible even if you have a contrasting color. From the front, you can see the zigzag. It is very clear with a contrasting thread. With a similar colored thread, I imagine it would be nearly invisible. But you have a ridge still in the opposite direction. This method is very fast, and that is kind of its only benefit. It has the same weak point as the mattress stitch in that there is only one piece of thread holding the pieces together. So if you break one thread, the whole piece falls apart, but it is exceptionally fast. And it holds together pretty well. It doesn't allow much of a gap, unlike the single mattress stitch, but it still has its flaws. So that is method number 2. All right, method number 3, getting into the crochet methods now. We're going to start with one that is very similar to the mattress stitch in its way, but just with crochet. So you're going to take and go through the top loop of the corner, go through to the other side, to the top loop of the corresponding corner, and pull your yarn through. You can leave this loose, and then you do the same as the mattress stitch across the entire piece, just top to top, and you're gonna yarn over and pull through, and we're going to do a slip stitch. You do the same in the next, and slip stitch. So I'm going to do this whole row, and I will be right back. All right. So this is the slip stitch seam. You can see that it is very noticeable if you're using a contrasting color, and it does leave quite a bit of ridge. On the back side, the pieces are flush together, so I suppose if you did this on the back side, the ridge would not be anything to worry about. This does solve a couple of the problems with the mattress stitch. This stitch has a bit more give than the slip stitch, is not as flexible as the rest of the piece, but is still not completely set, and it doesn't allow the pieces to come apart like the mattress stitch. It does have the benefit of being 2 pieces of yarn going through each of these holes, the down and back, so two places for structural integrity. But it does have the drawback of the mattress stitch of being pretty kind of average slow. So not the quickest, pretty average stitch, pretty good. So that was method number 3. All right, so on to method number 4. So we're going to, same as the zigzag stitch, take the right sides and put them together and come to the back here. We're going to, same as the zigzag stitch, put both loops of the stitch over our hook. The first one is pretty hard because it's on the corner, so it doesn't have a lot of give. but you'll be able to get it in there with just a little bit of persistence. The first one's the hardest. And once you have it in there, you're going to take your yarn. If I could make my hands work. Take your yarn over your hook, bring it through both. Again, this is a little bit delicate. And then instead of doing what we did for the previous one and just leaving the tail loose, we're going to yarn over both the tail and the working thread and bring it back through this loop and cinch down just a little bit. Now we're going to lose the tail, hold on to the working thread, and put the tail right there. Then when you go into the next stitch, you're going to go through both layers. That out of there for now. I'm going to go through both layers. Like so. And on the other side as well. And you're going to keep the tail above your hook as you're doing this. Gonna yarn over on the other side and bring it through, and then you're going to do a single crochet like that. I'm going to do that for the next stitch. So through and through, yarn over, and a single crochet. I'm going to do the rest of the row and see you at the end. Alright, so you may have noticed that hiccup at the end there. I apparently did not count as well as I should have, and these are misaligned at the beginning. So do as I say, not as I do. But this is the single crochet seam. You can see that the tail on this end has been weaved under these stitches, so you don't have to weave that in separately, and that is, in my opinion, the main benefit of this method. You can't do that with the other methods as far as I can tell, so that's half as many ends to weave in. It does leave a very noticeable trail here and a pretty substantial ridge. However, with both the back sides, it is pretty safe. On the front side, you can see it a little bit. It is not as bad as the zigzag though, because all of these are very small and very uniform, so it doesn't draw the eye very much, even with a contrasting color. The main benefit that I like from this is it has the exact same stretch as the rest of the piece. So you do not have to worry about popping a stitch. If you pull this hard enough to break it, anywhere could be the point of failure. It's not a single weak link. So all of those things considered, the single crochet join is my go-to. I use it on mostly all of the pieces that I do today. It has very strong structure. It is just as strong as the rest of the piece. It is not a weak point, and I feel that the noticeability of the seam and the ridge that it creates is worth it on most pieces, especially clothing, as clothing is already expected to have some kind of seams on the inside, and from the outside it is not super apparent. It is clear that this is a seam, but it's not very eye-catching. So that is the fourth method and my go-to, and that's it. All right, so that's it. We have gone through a number of methods on how to bring squares together using various techniques. I hope you learned something new, and if you have any other techniques that you'd like to share, please let me know. I'm always open to new things. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay crafty.